Hello. Just trying to get the perfect camera angle here if I can, if that even exists. It's good to see you guys. This is going to be part 2 of the painting that we started last week, where we were talking about overlapping mandalas and overlapping designs. So we're going to be going through that today. We're going to talk about creating the overlap look and creating some borders to help us make that look even more apparent and more obvious. And we are going to talk about adding in other detail in between some of these little dots to give it a little bit more depth. And then if we have time, we'll also go into top dots. Actually, the other thing I'd rather go into before we go into top dots even is how to fill these blank spaces in here. Because they don't have a mandala design, right? Now, I do want to give you guys the heads up. I am actually going to switch to my headphones. It might get a little noisy in here because the family that I live with are just getting home and bringing in a bunch of groceries. So I do apologize if it is a little noisier, but hopefully the headset will make it a little bit better and drown out some of that noise. So we'll see how we do anyway. So, hey Brianna, hey Barb, hey Patty, hey Victoria, Nibadita, hello, how are you? All right, it's so good to see you guys. All right, so let's get started then. So, what I want to refresh you on is I have some very faint lines. You can kind of see them in the background here from my last tutorial. So this line right here. This is the dividing line that carries around all the way, and some of these dots have been done over top of that line. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to go through all of my different guidelines, and I'm going to start to paint over these circles, the parts of them with a tiny brush and some black paint so that they line up with the guidelines that I had drawn before. So that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to put a little bit of black paint in this palette, and we can go in and get that part done. I'm going to try and get it in a little bit closer too if I can. Hopefully this is an okay angle for you guys. Let me know if it's not really working. And I'll let you know if I have to change it again, if I can still see properly too. So I'm following this line and I'm literally just going straight across that dot. And then same with that one. Okay, so that one worked out well because this line goes up this way. Just like that. So that goes like that, and then I'm going to turn this, and then I'll be able to get these ones up top here. So let's see. So I'm trying really hard to trace that line. And there we go. So as I paint over it, it's just going to make it the black background color. It's one of the reasons why I like doing black backgrounds. They're very forgiving. They're easy to work with and create different looks like this. And if you make a mistake and want to paint over it and start again, it's very easy to do that. If you're painting on a lighter background, it's much harder to cover stuff and get it back to that original color of the light background. So this is much easier. So there we go. All right, so that's that one. So we can start to see that shape coming in. We're going to let this dry, and we're going to do the same over here. So this is a little bit slower part of the process. So last week we created these designs, and one of the biggest parts about creating an overlapping design is making sure you get your guidelines in there so that you've got something to go off of, and you just know where your design is and what's going to overlap what as well, right? You don't want to leave that to just be random. You want to plan it out so that you know exactly what you're looking at. And then when you can paint over top of those guidelines, then you can go in like I am now and just kind of get rid of the pieces that don't really need to be there. So this one is going to be a little bit trickier because it's a big chunk of it, but that's okay. There we go. And then just keep filling it in because I want this green to be overlapping the purple. So I'm just getting rid of anything that's following that guideline that would be not considered part of the green mandala. So there's that. And then we go over here. Where are we going to do that? So I've got to find, actually here, let's go over and do this side. No, we're going to wait for a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my compass again because I'm seeing that my guideline from over here doesn't carry over to here where I can see it. So I'm going to try and see if I can't draw it on a little bit more. Hey Rex, how you doing? How'd you make it with that circle drawing technique? Hey Paula, how's it going? All right, so let's see if I can get this basically in the middle and get that lined up with. I might leave a little bit of a divot in this purple center dot, but we'll just have to live with that. So there we go. Perfect. All right. So now, we're working on, from the project from last week, we're working on getting rid of any of the pieces that shouldn't be showing based on how these mandalas are overlapping. So this is where the grid lines come in again. So what I've done so far is I have painted over these little halves of these dots in here. You can see that a little bit closer. And same with over here. I have also done this part on the purple. I'm getting ready to do this gray because the purple is going to overlap the gray. Is it? Hang on, I got to rethink that because I don't want to add in more purple. So let me actually try this again. I'm going to try something different here. This happens a lot. This is what you get with my tutorials. You get to see what happens in my brain when I come up with different ideas. I don't know if that's exciting or not. So I'm going to put this line actually right about there. So that's the line I'm going to go with. I'll just draw it around just so I've got it. There we go. Now the reason I did that is because I didn't want to have to fill in too much space here on the outside of the purple mandala. And if I'd left the line out here, I would have had a lot of space and I don't have these colors mixed anymore. So I don't want to go back in and remix any of those colors. So I am going to just go in here and get that little bit there. And then we'll come down and do this one. Discovered a new tool last week in the ends of knitting needles. Oh, that's a great idea. That makes total sense. That's awesome. How did they do for you? Oh, you haven't done it yet? Let me know how you make out. I'm curious. Oh, that's fantastic. You'll have so many different sizes. That's awesome. Yay, I'm excited for you. Right? You don't need to go out and spend money on fancy tools. Why do I feel like that's not going the way I wanted it was supposed to? I think that's the way it was. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just getting it basically where we want it to be here. still seems like that's a little bit. That looks better. There we go. So now we have some really defined mandalas that we can go in and we can start covering up now. Sound good? Oh yeah, the small walking dots would be perfect. Now you tell me not to spend money on fancy tools. You don't need to, but the fancy tools are fun. I do like them. But that's amazing. That's so awesome. I love hearing that. Trying different ways to do things. It's fantastic. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to start creating these borders. That's going to be the next step. So what I want to do is I want to create a small ring around here of tiny dots that I can use to show that it's overlapping. So I'm going to use gold because that's my favorite one to use. So I just need to find my little gold paint pot. Here it is. So I'll show you what I mean. It's going to make a lot more sense once I get this going here. So let's get down here nice and close. And I am going to actually grab one of my nail dotting tools. Oh, it's over here. The one I wanted was over here the whole time. Okay, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to move down this way. And I'm going to start following this guideline and just start putting in gold dots. I'm going to start right about here. And just slowly keep spacing them and following that guideline. Now, if you're working on canvas like I am, you might find that these dots don't lay down very well if you haven't done a lot of prep on your canvas. To prep your canvas, you want to put at least 2 to 3 coats of paint on it. Because otherwise the fibers in the canvas material are actually going to impact the shapes of your dots. So you want it to be as smooth of a surface as possible. So you can do that with a good 2 to 3, sometimes even 4 coats of your base color. Another option is to get yourself some gesso. You can get gesso. The stuff that I use is Liquitex brand. You can get it at Michael's. And so with a coupon, it would cost you about $15 with one of their coupons. And it is designed to specifically prep canvases. That is what it's for. So it can be really helpful when you're prepping canvases. Now, canvas boards too also tend to be a little less fibrous, I guess, because it's glued onto the board behind as opposed to just stretched fabric. So those are an option for you too. This one is a magnet actually. Oh no, this one's a canvas, just a canvas board. But it's all your personal preference. If you use stretched canvas, be prepared for a little bounce when you're dotting because your tool is going to potentially push down a little bit. If your canvas is kind of lagging a little bit and doesn't have a nice spring to it when you touch it, give it a spray with some water on the back of it and let it dry and it'll tighten right up and give you a nice spring. Because it should kind of spring back if you touch it. Now, I didn't do a great job at keeping great guidelines on here, so I'm not expecting this to look like a wonderfully perfect circle, but we'll see what happens. So it's all up to you. The guidelines are there to help you if you want them there, or if you want to kind of eyeball it like I am, you can do that too. No harm in that. So the only part that I'm not a huge fan of with this is that I can still see that black line, right? So the only way I could have gotten rid of that is I could have moved my dots up a little bit further so that it would dot right across there and cover that up. So I'm going to try that on the next one that I do for the spacing to see if I like the look of that better. I'm not going to change this one. This is just learning, right? For next time of what would I like to do if I was to create another piece with this kind of a design or a bigger piece with this kind of a design. How would I want to work all of that, right? How do I want it to look? But so far, I think we're doing all right. Make sense so far? So you're just following that guideline, and we're going to do the exact same thing here, and we're going to go with the teal one, and we're going to work our way all the way around the teal one. So this one I am going to put so it's kind of overlapping on the dots and see how that looks, if that looks like a little bit of a better border. Had to take a quick drink first. So especially if you're new to dotting, make sure you try and be patient with yourself. You know, this is going to take time to practice and learn. And you want to give yourself that time to practice and figure out what you like and figure out what you don't like and figure out what your own personal style is. You know, trying things that other artists have done is a great way to practice to see what you like and what you don't like. But then let it kind of evolve with you, right? When you try something new, try as much as you can to not make it look like somebody else's. Unless it's something specifically, say, I want to learn how to do that. And then you can keep practicing. But it's still always going to have the touch of you in it, right? Always, always, always. Because you are the one that's painting it, not the other person. So just practice some self-kindness in all of that as well. And just not let it be the question of, does this look like that other person's, but am I happy with how this looks? Because if you're happy with how it looks, it doesn't matter at all if it looks like the other person's. Now we just had a power flicker too, you guys. Hopefully we're not going to lose power, but just a quick heads up. If that ever was to happen, you guys, I would reschedule the Saturday tutorial for later in the week. And I would make sure that anybody who's on here, I would try to take down everybody's names and get you a copy of it. So if that ever does happen, I will do my absolute best. Or if you were on it and if the power goes out and we get kicked out or something like that, shoot me a message or comment on the event or something like that, and then we'll be in touch and I'll get you a copy of the tutorial. And then I'll finish it live on a different day, but hopefully that won't happen today. Hopefully we'll be in the clear. Doing a live on Instagram tonight as well at 7 o'clock with Mall Rocks, an incredibly talented young dot artist. We started it a couple of weeks ago. We started a project. We decided we were going to paint on the exact same thing with the exact same colors. So we're finishing that stone tonight. So if you want to come hang out, then we will be there. But hopefully you'll be inspired from the tutorial to jump in and keep going. Remember that these designs here are excellent practice for your spacing and getting to know your paints and your tools. So as you're learning as well, pick one design that you really, really like and just keep going with it. Keep going with it and keep practicing it over and over and over again. And it's going to really help you get to know your tools, get to know your paints. Just change up the colors, because the exact same design can look very different with different colors, right? So play with that. And that will help you get to know your tools and your paints, different paint consistencies, how much paint to put on your tool to get the desired size of a dot, all that sort of thing. It just gives you that opportunity to practice. I got a surprise grocery delivery. Not sure if I will take it back before the end. Oh, that's so nice. That's okay, Rex. We're here if you're able to come back, and if not, I hope you have a good rest of your day. So these ones here are actually very soothing, right? Because when I'm just following a line, I'm not having to worry too much about spacing as far as how it relates to the other parts of the piece. I'm just creating this line, right? So where the practice comes in here is what angle works best for you. Are you best looking at the line from underneath and dotting over here on the side? Do you find it easier to dot over here and then dot on the line this way? Depending on how you look at it, you're going to have a different angle on your spacing, right? So what is the angle that is best for you? That's the thing to learn. Like this angle here makes me incredibly uncomfortable. However, my spacing looks pretty damn good. So it's really all up to you of how you want to place the canvas in your piece so that you can see it. But make sure you try different angles just to see if it'll make a difference for you, if it helps you with your spacing. And again, these designs, just practicing them over and over again gives you lots of opportunity to do that. The first time I started painting larger pieces and I would paint them on my Lazy Susan, it was just so much fun because it just made life so easy. Instead of turning the canvas and what if I put my hand in where there's already paint on the canvas when I turn it and all of those different things. But then what I found is that when I went to paint other things, I actually did a mural on my wall. I couldn't turn the wall, right? I had to learn how to do it. Same with drawing on paper. I can turn my paper, but when you're drawing on something that's static, it's totally different. So, my point with that is really play with the different angles. When you have angles available to you that you can use, try them all and see what works for you. All right, so that's how we're doing so far. What do you think? Looks all right, eh? So now we're going to do another one here and finish off the purple. And then we're going to go in and we'll do the border around the gray. And then they'll all be circled off. Anybody have any questions so far? If you do, please let me know. But I hope this is helpful. So this is a part that I really like in the overlapping designs because it's just very gratifying. Hello, Belbeer. How are you, love? It's good to see you. I'm trying to turn this camera angle. It's not working. It's good to see you. I'm glad you guys are here. These overlapping designs have a lot of potential too, right? I had started to do a large canvas of a whole bunch of really tight rainbow circles and having them all overlapping and everything. And it's a really, really cool effect. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect for the effect to come across and for the effect to work, right? Hello, Barb. Oh, hearts right back to you, Belbeer. Thank you. How are we doing, you guys? Are we having any connection issues? Are we doing all right? And if you guys have any requests of what you'd like to see in upcoming tutorials, please make sure, if you're watching this live, to let me know in the comments. If you're watching from one of the recordings through either purchasing the tutorial or the Patreon, please shoot me a message as well. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. I can't promise you that I'll do it, but I would love to hear what you guys want to see. My thought now is to start changing up the substrates and start talking about different substrates that you can paint on, but also still creating a project that you can do on any surface, so you can learn about that surface but still create on whatever you have on hand. So that's kind of what my thought is, but I would love to get your feedback on that one. Okay, I'm sorry you're having other issues, Sharon. I hope you're okay. All right, so now we're going to finish off this side over here. It's on this line actually, right here. So I'm actually going to turn this. Oh, and sometimes they just stick out at you, but this here looks like an empty space to me, so I'm going to put a little half dot in there. There we go. That looks a little better to me. Sometimes they stand out. So now we go here and work our way out. Sorry. Have you been able to speak with your doctor? I hope they can help you get some relief, Sharon. So for the next couple tutorials, that's what I'm thinking is I'll talk, we'll go specifically into Canvas. We'll go specifically into prepping the canvas and what to do with it. We can go specifically into wood, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. We'll definitely do some mugs because I know that there are people who are very interested in painting on ceramic mugs or on glass. So we'll go into some detail on those as well. I can do another drawing mandala tutorial again if anybody wants to see one of those again. Just let me know. Let me know what you want to see. I want to make sure that I'm teaching you stuff that you actually want to hear about, right? All right. So there we go. So this is how we are so far. Right? Looks pretty cool. Working on a tiny rock. Nice. What colors are you using, Paula? And that's the thing is you don't necessarily have to be working on the same thing that I'm working on. If it's a project that doesn't really call to you and doesn't really excite you, you certainly don't have to ever do it while we're on a tutorial. Just coming and hanging out and creating something, whatever it is that you're called to create that day, I think is a wonderful way for us to spend time together. And we can always be talking about all the different things that, the questions that come up and what we want to learn. Right? We can always do that. Now this silver one, the gray one, I screwed up my lines in there somewhere, but we're still going to put the border in. And it's, again, not going to be perfect, but it's going to be okay. That's totally good, Paula, too, that your hands are busy. I'm glad that you're enjoying the process and jumping in. Light and dark green pastels with white. Ooh, beautiful. Oh, that's going to look gorgeous. I think color combinations are my favorite thing about all of this. I love when I can come up with a color combination that makes me look at it and go, oh, damn, that's pretty. Those are such gratifying moments. And it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you're like, yeah, it's okay. Like this one. I'm not in love with it. It's okay. I don't hate it. I like it more with the gold on it than I did beforehand. But, that's okay. I don't have to be head over heels in love with it, right? Because it can still look pretty. But those moments when you are in love with it, it's just so fun. Yes, thank goodness for Mother Nature's prep of these rocks, right? Especially when they're nice and smooth. Yeah, I can do a tutorial too on how I mix my stuff, my gypsum for the stones and how I work with the molds. That might be like a little mini tutorial someday. We might do some on like painting really tiny things, like really tiny stones, and how to get in there and practice that little teeny tiny detail if you ever want to. All kinds of different stuff we can do. We're just going to play. We're just going to keep playing. That's my main goal is what do we feel like painting today? And let's just talk about it. Oops. So there we go. Fill that out a little, fill that out a little. And there we go. So there is our overlapping discs. And they stand out now, right? So the next thing that we can do is let's talk about what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Let's talk about adding in some tiny detail in between all of these dots. So you can do a couple of different things. You can choose a shade of this color. So for example, because I went from dark to light, I could start out here and go from dark to light going inwards. That's an option. I could pick a completely different color. I could pick a single color and just go in and add the details. And that's what I think I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to do white, because I think white would look really, really nice and crisp in there. So I am going to find my white paint, maybe, without dumping it all over the place. It's been sitting in this little container for a while, so I got to give it a good stir before I can use it. But I'm going to use white on this one. And we're going to go with really tiny, tiny, tiny detail. So I'm not going to put huge dots in here. I'm still going to leave a lot of space in between, but the white is going to be just enough to fill it with something that's just a little bit of a pop. You can do a different color in every single row if you want to. You can do this however you want to, right? So just keep remembering that. You can do this any way that you want to. It's just figuring out how you want to, and you can try it. You can do different colored ones in each disc. You can change it up in each disc. You can do it any way at all. So when I go in and look at this, I want to go in very tiny and just still make sure that I'm not filling up all of this black space in here. So I'm using a micro dotter, which is a clay sculpting tool that my friend Jan got me. And it's fantastic for doing these tiny, tiny dots. Now these tiny, tiny dots on canvas is where I tend to see a little bit more, or a little less shape, I guess you could say. You start to see a little bit more misshapen ones, because it's such a tiny dot, it's going to fall in between some fibers, right, if they're not super smooth. And I didn't do a lot of prep on this one. I just did 2 coats of black paint. The next canvas that I do, I'm going to do a couple coats of gesso, though, for sure, to get it really, really smooth. I've seen some artists and they do 4 and 5 coats of gesso, so it's really up to you to get it to a texture that you're happy with. And that just takes practice too, right? You try one with 1 coat and see how you like it. If you don't like it, the next one you do with 2 coats, right? So I'm going to keep going with the same size tool. You see how I'm still leaving space in there, in between the white dot and the other dot. Had a girl, Rex. Powerhouse. Good for you. Glad you're back. And don't forget, today we're here for 2 hours too, right? So you got lots of time. We are here till 3 o'clock Eastern today, so we got some time. Right, it's only 1:30. We got so much time. So this is what we're going to keep working on, though. Oop. And filling in these little details, really, really satisfying. But also being careful of course, where you need to rest your hand. Because I always rest my hand on the canvas or on the stone or on whatever it is I'm painting on. So making sure that you have a spot to put your hand that isn't going to stick your hand right in some other wet paint. Like I keep thinking I'm going to move my hand and have a whole bunch of gold on it. And I might. And if that happens, all we do, paint over it in black and do it again. I always find this part gratifying to see how it comes out, because these little bits of detail always make such a big difference. Oops, trying not to spill my paint. It always amazed me when I was learning how to do this, when I would see some different effects, right? Like when you use top dots to make things look almost 3D. Like the day that I learned what that was and how actually fairly simple it is. It just blew me away, because then it's just tweaking what you're doing, right? Trying different size top dots until you get the effect that you like. And that's what I think a lot of these dot artists that have been doing this for a lot longer than I have, they have such flawless work because they start to do patterns, right? They start to use the same size tools for all of their center dots when they are working on a particular piece, and they start to remember all of that. Heck, they probably write it down, which I certainly don't do, but there's so many different ways that you can do it. Once you find a design, with a lot of my small stones, I'll hold up the stone and then I'll hold tools on it to see if I can match the size again. And it's really, at some point, I would do myself a lot of good to almost create like a little bit of a legend for myself. Like if you're doing a small stone, you want your center dot to be this size, and just kind of talk about that a little bit. But that's not somewhere I've gone yet, but maybe someday. Hey Hazel, how you doing, love? Hazel's a phenomenal artist, you guys. I met her through an artist business challenge, and her energy is just so delightful. I highly recommend checking out her work if you are so inclined. And she's just a delightful human being. I'm glad you were able to pop in, Hazel. This is the meditative part, you guys. This is the part you can sink into when you're doing a project like this. This is the part where you can slow your breath, turn on some music, get into a little bit of a rhythm going through, because you don't have to think about design. You just have to go in and add these little bits of detail, right? And just sit and enjoy the process, because as you get further and further out from the center and you start to see how good it looks, like already don't really like it a lot better, right? It's amazing what little tiny details can do. So it's another thing that can kind of keep you from giving up on projects. If it's missing something, try something different. Add a little bit of detail to where you have some empty spaces. If you want to try switching up the color, there's so many different things you can try. And then every single time you try something and it works out a way you like, then keep that in your toolbox and know that you can go back to that. I do that all the freaking time, all the time. It's where the swoops come in so much, right? Because I know that when I have space in a design, that it can, and I know what that element does to a design when it's added to it. It's fun to see those tools just kind of collect a little bit, right? If I know stepping into something I've been called to create for my tribe, that's fantastic, Hazel. I'm so glad. Oh, you're most welcome. There's enough to go around for all of us, right? There is nothing to be lost by supporting each other, and I am just so grateful that I got to meet you. The course, it was one of those 5-day challenge things that you see on Facebook a lot. And if you are an artist looking to step into an art business, I would highly recommend checking out Jessica Sorrentino. She was phenomenal. I loved every second of it. I've signed up for lots of 5-day challenges before, and I've never done a single one of them. And hers, I did every single step. And it was absolutely amazing. I learned so much about myself and where I wanted my business to go, and how I wanted to feel. What did I want my art to be for me? What did I want to do with it? And how was I undervaluing myself? So it was a very, very valuable way to spend time. And she had a lot of homework, and when you do the homework, it was always very thoughtful questions and very introspective questions that you really had to be prepared to answer really brutally honestly. It was a pretty cool experience, honestly. She's on my list that one of these days she does private consulting. I am going to work with her, because I feel like that's going to be pretty spectacular and expansive someday. So there's so much support out there for whether you just want to create because you love creating, or if you want to turn it into a career. And there's, what I would hate to do though is see people creating because they wanted to find that thing that they could create, because a lot of creators are making a lot of money online right now, or whatever story it is that that they're hearing from other people and from people around them and all of that sort of stuff. I think it's really, really really telling when it's something that you love, right? It's got to be something that you love, but there's no need to turn it into a career. You can just do it because you love it. You don't have to find that thing to create so that you can make money. And if you listen to what you actually want to do and start having those conversations with yourself and start really following those signs, those impulses, those inspired bits of action, it'll take you where you need to go and where you want to go, and help you see that you really can build any kind of life that you want for yourself. And it's incredibly empowering. So if you're creating, please, 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 if you want to make money off of it and want to turn it into a career, I think that is freaking fantastic. But do it because you love it. And it's because, like, I decided to make this my business because there's nothing else that I would rather be doing. Nothing. And if I can spend my days doing something that I love so much and be able to pay my bills and take care of myself, then by God, I'm going to try and do that, right? But you want to have that passion for whatever it is that you're going to do. But start off with, is it fun? So take pressure off of yourself if you're thinking about the business side of things. Take the pressure off yourself and just say, am I having fun? Is this what I want to do? Like, if I woke up and I had all the choice in the world and could do anything I wanted today, what would I do? Would I be excited to do this every day? And that's the thing, whether you make it into a career or not, that's the thing to just prioritize in your day and make sure you give yourself some time to do something that you love that much. Oh, and I smudged a bit, so I'm going to have to fix that after. You see the smudge down there? So see how different that looks compared to the other ones? And I still have one more row of dots to do there. But little tiny detail like this can make a huge difference. So maybe what I'll do is I'll switch up the colors on these other ones so you can see what it looks like when it's not just white in here, but you'll have an example of what other colors look like with it. I wish you could see this beautiful rock. Oh, well, you can send me a picture or post it on the Facebook page or the group if you are so inclined, if you're okay with doing that. Making art from a blank canvas is fun for me. I wake up each day with joy, and making profit is fun too. Exactly. It's my first one, loving the smooth surface. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so excited for you, Paula. I can't wait to see it. So if you want to share it, I would love to see it. You can either send it to me in Messenger. You can post it on the Facebook, the group page. Are you on the group, Paula? You are, aren't you? But you can post it if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable and you just want to send it to me, you can always send it to me. I would love to see it. Love to. I love seeing what you guys create. Are you hooked now, Paula? You know for sure that you're good and hooked? You have those moments where you're like, yeah, this is happening. This is what I want to do. Oh, Hazel. So if you go to my Facebook page, Hazel, a couple posts back, there should be some info on the Facebook group, and I'll post it up there. But if you'd love to be a part of it, that would be awesome. Hey, Jan. How you doing, love? So we added borders today, Jan, and we are adding some of this tiny detail in here. And then, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick a different color and go in and do these same dot details on these different color pieces so you can get an idea of what it looks like when you have different color detail dots. And I'll do an ombre one too. I think I'll do a teal ombre in here because I've got a couple different colors of teal. We'll do that. And then maybe in the purple, I think we should do yellow. I think yellow dots would be fantastic on the purple one. So let's do that. Or no, blue might be nice. No, we're going to do yellow. We're going with the bright one. Let's go with the bright. It's good to see you, Jan. I just discovered you on TikTok. How lucky to hop straight over to Facebook. Oh, that's awesome, Cassie. How you doing? I'm glad you were able to pop over. This is great. Fantastic. I'm doing another live tonight at 7 o'clock on my Instagram. Doing a double live, a joint live with my friend Mal Rocks. That's happening tonight. We're painting the same thing. So I'm going to do turquoise on this one, on the pink one. Let's see here. Well, puppies have a lot to say again today. I am going to unplug for a second though and plug in my power cord. So bear with me. There we go. Good to be here. Did you see Sue Sloan? Yes, I did. She's amazing, isn't she? Yeah, she joined the group too. That was so cool. I was so happy she did. She's such a sweetheart too. Oh, somebody must have been walking by the house on the street. Heaven forbid. So when you add in these little tiny details, it really makes everything pop, and it can change a piece from something that you're kind of iffy about or not even sure if you even really like it into something that you really, really like. Or even you can have those times where you're like, oh, but it's already so pretty. Do I really need to add more? And then every once in a while you add that more and it just makes you giddy. Yeah, the Facebook group now has over 70 members, you guys. How crazy is that? Isn't that fun? So Cassie, I have a Facebook group as well. It's a couple posts back, I believe, compared to my business page. But if you want to join the group, it's just asking questions, sharing the work that you guys create, sharing other favorite artists and tips and tricks and stuff that we do. So if you want to join, then we'd love to have you. You are more than welcome to. All right. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to do these ones. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into filling in these blank spaces here, because I know that that's a question that's come up from people before on how to get the different random dots in there to do kind of a fill in without creating it geometrically. So there's a couple different ways that you can do it, and we'll talk about both of them, because there's a couple different fun ways that you could have a little fun with. So we'll talk about a couple different ways. I finished a row. Didn't realize I finished a row. I was looking for where I left off and I couldn't find it. Good thing I'm cute, so I can be forgetful. I like the yellow with the purple, but Jan, I think you were right. I should have just rotated them and done like teal on the purple, purple on the pink, pink on the other one. But that's okay. We live and learn. I think we're going to do another tutorial on grayscales too, because I think there's a lot of potential there that, you know, before I got to play around with grayscales, I really wasn't a huge fan of them. I mean, I thought they were pretty, but I until I started creating them, then I really, really fell in love with them. Like, oh damn, these are beautiful. So we'll definitely do another one of those too. But yeah, keep letting me know what you guys want to see. The one option that I'd thought about for doing with this is just doing all of these little tiny dots in gold. I thought that would be pretty too. We're keeping the gold on the outside and doing silver on the interior. You could really do anything at all. All right. Okay, let me check on these questions here. I've only dabbled in dot painting. It is fun, isn't it, Cassie? I could watch you all day. I've got to do a little painting. Oh, you're most welcome. Take care, Hazel. Have a great day. Surprisingly, yellow was a good choice. I thought it would look icky. Doesn't look as bad as you thought. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'll post later on the finished product. Awesome. I can't wait to see it, Paula. Yes, I'm using craft acrylics. So they're the thinner paints. If you use heavy body acrylics, you're going to want to mix them with some pouring medium to get them to the right consistency. Now Christina Lee is a good one to look to for advice on that, because I've only used the craft acrylics. I haven't done any playing around or learning yet with how to properly mix the thicker acrylics. Or post that question in the Facebook group too, because anybody who's in there might be able to answer that for you in the group. Because I know that there are some members that do use the heavier body acrylic paints. Oops. I tend to really like the matte finish too, so I've been nervous because the couple heavy body acrylic paints that I have tried have been satin or gloss, and I'm a huge sucker for matte paints. So I think I'm a little gun shy, and I'm like, why? These already work for me, so let's just keep going. However, from what I understand, that it can reduce the risk of cracking because they're not too watery. If your paints are too watery, that's when they could potentially crack while they're drying. So when you look at the center dots on all of these, and then you look at the center dot on the gray cracked. So that tells me that paint is a little bit too watery. You can buy acrylic medium that you can mix into your paints that will help thicken it up, but I haven't used that yet. I keep trying to swipe away cat hair. It's on my canvas. Yeah, that sounds about right. Sorry about that, Jan. I love grayscales today. While I was traveling down the Instagram rabbit hole, I found a pattern that I absolutely love, but I did not like the color, so I went ahead and did a screenshot, adjusted to black and white. Oh, that's perfect. That's going to be so fun. Oh, is it a pencil mark? They are really, really light, so I totally get why you would think that they were hair. Totally get that. You're most welcome, Cassie. Well, and that's the way you fix cracks, right? So this just means, yeah, we got a top dot on top of that, right? Top dots help with a lot of that sort of stuff. You get cracking, you get bubbling, you get ripples in the paint, any of that sort of stuff. Top dots will help fix an awful lot of that. So let's keep going. We're going to finish off the yellow, and then we're going to jump into filling in these background pieces that don't have mandalas in them, that are blank right now. You can leave them blank. You can fill them in with solid paint to give it a solid background. Like we could paint it the section completely gold. There's all kinds of things that you could do. But if you want to fill it in with dots, one of the things that I really enjoyed when I made a planter that had some overlapping dots, and I put some green in behind it, and just multiple shades of green, all different size dots. And I'm going to show you how I did that as well. All right. Or affirmations. Yeah, you could do any of that stuff. It's amazing to me, it's still amazing to me how such a tiny little bit of detail can have such a big impact on how something looks, right? Like again, when you compare these ones, they're still pretty, but then when you add these dots, it just takes them to a whole other level, right? I always find it very satisfying when something so tiny can make such a big difference in something. Hey, Kath. Here we go. So we got 2 more rows to do because I'm just going to finish off the yellow and then we'll do the background. How's life, Kath? Oh, I found the hair, Jan. There is a hair. How's life, Kath, with the kids back in school? How are they doing? Are they happy? All right, here we go. We're getting there. We're getting there, you guys. This again is where it can be really meditative, right? Because if you're just kind of tuned into painting, listening to something in the background, this is where you can really kind of zen out. So I apologize if I'm doing that while we're on this together, but sometimes I just can't help it. It just happens. So as I'm going through this, of course, my brain starts to go and pick out the things that I don't like, right? And what I'm noticing is that all of the things that I don't like or that are standing out to me are things that could have been fixed with more solid guidelines on here. So this is where I made an error for myself, is whenever I put down guidelines, I always go over them with an eraser and erase them a little bit, because the wax and the pencil can almost cause a pinching effect. So imagine if these dots here had like these little spots missing on the side. It looks like it was pinched in from either side. That can happen sometimes when you dot over top of something that's kind of waxy. So I go and I just give them a quick erase to reduce the chance of that happening. So I erase them too much, right? Because over here, this should be coming down here a little bit more to be more level. If I had kept my guidelines in there and took them all the way around, I would have more of a perfect circle around here and more, not this big spacing catastrophe here. Like this should be out around here, as opposed to in here so tightly. But I can still fix this because there is still enough of a guideline here that I could move them and paint over that part. Let's do that. Let's do that. I think I would really, really, really enjoy doing that because it's driving me a little bonkers. Oh, I'm so glad, Kath. That's awesome. And you're getting a little bit of time to breathe too, hopefully. Does it make your life a little easier too? All right, so I'm going back in with my tiny paintbrush, and I'm going to paint over all of these gold dots. So I'm just going to redo them. When you are painting over mistakes, still be aware that even though you're layering on the base coat, you're still adding a layer on of paint. So it is going to very slightly change the texture of that spot of the canvas. It's usually not too bad, but as much as ever possible, well, that's good. If you have more opportunities than you had before, then that's a good thing. And it sounds like you've got some more opportunities, so that's wonderful to hear. All right, I need to take a drink here. You're also probably the only one who noticed, which is another really good point. And, let's talk about that for a minute. Because if nobody else is going to notice, it is your decision whether you go in and start to, quote unquote, fix these things, right? If you see it and it still looks good, I'm probably going to be pretty happy with this by the time that it's done and not really have anything else that I want to fix. So you get to decide what you want to spend time fixing and what you want to just let go and see how it looks at the end of the piece. That comes with a lot of the practice as well, right? Is learning what are the things that you let go and what are the things that you know are worth spending the time to fix, right? And that just comes with practice and time. Oh, that was a good drink. That was good. All right, and I got to paint over that black again because it didn't cover. Probably because my brush was a little wet. That's okay. This one, I don't have another one in there, do I? No. I'd have to get my lazy butt up and walk over somewhere else to get another brush. So we're just going to dry this off a little bit better. There we go. That should be better. Yeah, so you learn what to let go of and what to keep going with, because one of the things that I've seen so many times is I'll spend time fixing something only to see that when the design is done, nobody's going to pick that out. And if they do, they should almost get a prize as opposed to having to apologize for not catching it yourself, right? It's like, wow, you saw that? Good job. Here you go. Here's your prize. All right, so let's talk about filling in these blank spaces here. So I'm going to start down here. One thing that you could do is you can just keep creating more and more of these lines. So what I would do is, I know what size tool I used for that, I believe. I know I used a dotting tool, that's right. So I'm going to go in with one of my other tools and just kind of compare. So this tells me that I probably would have used a 3 on my actual dotting tools, not the ball dotting tools, but in the actual dotting tools, I would have used a size 3 to create these. So just find whichever one it is. And then I'm going to actually go up a size and then create another row right out along here. And I think I'm going to do it in gold. So you can do it in any color you want. You could mix it up a little bit, but let's just go in and do this. And then you just keep going as the space fills up, right? I actually could use the 3 again, I think. Oh, no, I need a little bit more paint. See, with the 4, it was almost too big. There we go. I think it's better with them smaller anyway. There we go. Yeah, that's the spacing I'm looking for. So like even with this, I'm now making a decision. Do I want to go in and paint over these and redo them? Or are they okay? Right? I'm saying they're okay. I still do the every other one just because it still does help me with my spacing and the sizing of the dots. There we go. And there we go. So we can just continue this on over and over and over again to fill in this space. So I'm even just going to stick with the same color, same size tool. Stick with the same color. We're just going to keep going. When it's pretty much a straight line, the size of your tool is going to stay the same. Once it gets into a real curve, that's when you're going to want to increase the size of your tool with each row. But because this is pretty darn close to a fairly straight line, I'm not going to increase the size of my tool quite yet. Probably on the next row. Right, and then we can just keep filling in and filling in and filling in. So when it comes to filling in these empty spaces, oops. Now, the other option too is you don't have to set them in at the same intervals as the row before. You can just start dotting with whatever size tool you have and use the row before as if it's a guideline, and you don't have to focus on trying to get it into those spaces. There's a lot of dot artists out there that do that. And it blows me away because my hyper-focusedness doesn't like it. Like even this right now is stressing me out. Right? But it's possible, and I want you to see the ones that are possible. Okay? You can do this, again, any way you want to. Oh, I'm glad that was helpful, Paula. That's great. Good. Right? And then we're filling in this space. And there we go. So that's with one corner filled in with the gold. Okay, so that is an option. Another option, well, let's go in and do the gold line on this one and finish this one off. I like to throw the dots in there that are just randomly spaced in random sizes. Yeah, I do that sometimes too. It'll look like it was made with a completely different tool, like it couldn't possibly have even been in the same ballpark. Yeah, that definitely happens. There we go. That's better spacing. Away from the design. I think this is going to look more like it's supposed to. It was such an off-center thing to me. I just couldn't not see it. There we go. So there we go. That looks like it makes more sense with that silver one now. Right? So let's talk about filling in this one. And in this particular space, we're going to do some random dots. Okay, so this is going to be Jan throwing random dots, space, random sizes, all of that. That's going to be right in here. Okay, so I'm going to just pick a tool at random, and I'm going to pick a slightly bigger, and I'm just going to plop on a couple dots in completely random places. Just completely random. This is all completely random. So I used a 6 for that. So now I'm going to actually go down to a smaller size, slightly smaller. I'm going to go down to a 4. And just kind of chuck a few in there. Right? Then I'm going to go down even smaller. This time I'm going to go down to a 2. Excited? Good. Oh, I love ya. All right, and then I'm going down another size. And this time I'm just going to fill in even more. Put them wherever you want. And now I'm going to go in with an even smaller one. And just start filling it in. I might have to go let the cat in for a second, you guys. I apologize. One of the cats is meowing like he wants in, so I might have to scoot out for a second and go let him in. But let's just see for a second. I'm just sticking in random dots in here, wherever they fit. And then just keep going in with different size. And fill that in. And flip the tool over, put another bigger one in there. See what kind of fills in there? It's cool, eh? One thing that can be really helpful too is before you get to this point, erase your guidelines. So give your paint time to dry and then erase your guidelines because sometimes it can look like space is filled, but it's actually your guideline pencil showing in the space. So make sure that you erase your guidelines. There we go. So there's that, just kind of randomly filled in, right? So there's the difference between that compared to that in the corner. So that's another option. Okay, bear with me one second, you guys. I'm just gonna let the cat in. So I will be right back. Quick 2 seconds. LJ, come on. Let's go. Come on. LJ, come on. Get in here. Come on. Let's go. LJ, come on. LJ, come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on. No? All right. Well, you're staying out then. All right. Well, he changed his mind. So he's going to stay out a bit longer. Sorry, guys. He was meowing and scratching at the window, so I thought that meant he wanted to come in. However, apparently I still don't completely understand cat language. I would like a whole class on this filling method. We can totally do that. We can totally do that. We can just fill a whole canvas with random dots. No problem. Let's do that. Finish with your micro daughter. Very good point. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to get in really, really close. And it's fun too because you don't have to load up too much paint and you can do multiple dots, right? You don't have to... Right, and just filling in those little spaces. Yeah, we can totally do that though, Sharon. We'll make that happen. There we go. So there is that finished. And I love that finish. I think that looks really, really cool. And you can still see the division when you're using small enough dots out here and you're keeping them tight enough in there in a nice row, it doesn't compete with this design here, which is really, really nice. What is a good way to erase guidelines on black painted canvas? Get yourself a really good eraser, or the other option is if you use charcoal or watercolor pencil crayons, just a wet Q-tip can help get rid of them. Good question, though. Maybe it was, Barb. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys like it. Okay, so let's now look over here and let's do some different colors. Right? I'm going to still mix in some gold in there, but let's do some different colors in here, just to show how you can mix it up with color. So I'm going to pick one size tool again, okay? And I'm just going to randomly place some large dots in this color. And then another one down here. And I'm actually going to grab this pink and do the same thing. Now keep in mind, you have the option to do this with just different shades of one color as well, right? If you do this with different shades of one color, then it can create a really cool effect too. So maybe that's what we'll do, is we'll do all the different possibilities in a different tutorial. I'm getting a couple close together. Hey, Autumn. How you doing? I'm just throwing my stuff all over the place. Don't mind me. And let's grab purple. More purple. Completely random sizes. This is the nice part, because you don't have to be trying to get the exact same sizes on anything. And if your paint drips, it creates little dots, so you don't even have to fix those, which is really fun too. So we're going to keep these three colors of paint here. So now I'm going to go in with the teal again, and I'm going to go in with a bit smaller. Right? And then we're going to go in with the pink. Oh, I'm glad, Autumn. That's awesome. I'm glad this is helpful. So now we're going to go here. Right. And then we go back in with the purple again. More purple, and just keep adding it on. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller size again. You can do all kinds of different walking dots to decide where you want stuff to go. You don't have to keep dipping every single time, which is really nice. It's fast, right? Some instant gratification is nice sometimes. All right, so now let's go back in with the teal. And it's just completely random. Like, I'm not planning out anything here. Right? Just completely random. Sticking them all over the place. All right, let's go back in with the pink now. Hey, Noreen, you got the sunflower. Are you excited? When I saw the order come in, I'm like, oh, she got it. That's so cool. I was so happy for you. Do you want me to send it out right away, Noreen, or do you want me to wait and send it with the mugs? It's totally up to you. Noreen bought the sunflower-inspired planter, you guys. Very, yay. I'm so glad. Right, so we're making progress here. Sometimes it can feel like you're making slow progress when you feel like there's some empty spaces and everything in there, but just keep going. Keep adding more. You can always go in with some really tiny dots to break up any color patterns that if you feel like, you need a little extra pink in here or a little extra blue in there, or teal, I should say, or purple, or whatever the case is. Just keep adding more in there. Right? You can wait? Okay. If you change your mind, Noreen, you just let me know, okay? I'm just glad you're so happy. I was super excited for you. I'm like, yay, she got it. Okay, so this is, again, just completely random. Just sticking dots in wherever they happen to fit. Total confetti, right? So I'm actually going to go in with a slightly bigger tool again. Oops. Sometimes they run together. Whoopsie. Getting there. I feel like I need some more purple in that other section. I kept refreshing the page. That's awesome. Oh, that makes my heart so happy. I'm so glad you were so excited. All right, and we can keep going. So imagine doing this with a bunch of different shades of purple or a bunch of different shades of pink. You can really, really have some fun with it. And you can really, really fill it too, right? Like you can get in there and really create a ton of little spaces to be filled, right? Just by slowly getting in there and putting all those little tiny ones in, right? Because again, you can always go in and break it up with other color little mini dots. because there's always going to be room for at least a micro dot, right? For the most part. So there's lots and lots of ways to fill in those spaces. Right? Making sense? I hope anyway. All right, so let me grab some more teal. Oops. This is meditative too, just looking for these empty spaces. It's like a big puzzle. Like, where can I stick another dot? Where's there room for another one? You'll find that there's more spaces than you think there are. And you just go smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's kind of fun. I totally get that, Paula, for sure. Because it's not something that I can spend a lot of time doing. I like the main part to be the symmetry. When I have little small sections like this is kind of where I can deal with doing this for the lack of symmetry. Let's see. So we're getting there. Here we go. So just going in smaller and smaller, filling in as many different spaces as you can. Right. Here we go. You just take one stylus and walk the dogs, but not in a row. Yes, you totally could. You could totally do that, Jan. You could totally do that. Yeah, it took me a minute. I'm like, a stylist walking the dogs. I don't know what that means. It took me a minute. But yes, you could totally do that. You could take any stylus you want to and just start walking the dots and just randomly filling in spaces. Totally, totally a good option. All right, let's grab some purple. And then that should be pretty darn close to it. And then there. Filling in all these spaces. Now I'm just looking for any space at all that I can fill, right? All right, I think that looks pretty good. So that is the other option. That's what I had tried in the past and it turned out horrible. Whatever works for you, right? There's always multiple ways of doing it. So this is what we have now, right? So we have these 3 different ways to fill in the background. Confetti, you could do color grades in there as well. Just the gold, multi-size dots. Or, sticking with the symmetry, Paula, you can do this. Metallic paints can be stringy just because they're thicker. They're just more, they've got the heavier mixtures in them, I guess. So what you'll find is that you'll get to a point where they're almost too stringy. If it's too elastic, then adding a tiny bit of water can help in there. But literally just go 1 drop of water at a time until it gets to a point where the stringiness or the stretchy elastic nature of it just kind of starts to go away. I hope that makes sense. There's a yearly bark in the park here. One of the events is dog tail painting. You dip your dog's tail in pink paint. Someone holds a piece of paper. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, you guys. So that looks pretty good. So I think now we are ready. So here's a question. Do you want me to talk top dots, or do you want me to go in and fill in these tiny dots so that we finish off like we did with the yellow and the white? That's okay, Jan. I think I cracked the code on that one, so I think we're good. But Paula, I have noticed the stringiness in metallic paints, gold especially, or any of the other colored metallic paints. Silver is the one that I find tends to be very runny, almost no matter what. Top dots is Jan's vote. Anybody else want to put in a vote before I go with Jan? Should we do top dots? Top dots, that's 2 for top dots. All right, so let's do this then. We are going to do the gray because I have gray paints mixed. So that's why we're going to do that. Okay, awesome. I was just using gold for top dotting on another piece. Oh, and that's fantastic. Yes, you can totally do that. So let's look at a couple different options then. Let's look at color grades, then we'll look at other colors. So for now, we're going to look at color grades on this one. So I have 5 different colors of gray paints right here. Okay, this one here was my center dot. And then let's count. I know I did 2 dots, 2 rows of each color. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, so this is my 5 colors. So what I'm going to start to do now is in the center one, I'm going to throw out not throw out, but just move aside the absolute darkest. And I'm going to start with the second lightest and do dots on all of these ones in the second lightest color, just gradually getting it a little bit lighter. So when I am looking at the sizing, the first thing I'm doing is grabbing a tool, and then I just want to see if I place this down, what kind of surface area is that going to cover on that dot? So see how I've got a little bit of space around it there. Oh shoot, and I just put my hand in the confetti dots. Of course. It's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay. So I'm looking, this is a size 17 tool, and it covers it, but it leaves a little bit of space. So because I know that this paint is a little watery, it's also actually going to make the dot a bit larger than the dotting tool. So in this case, I'm going to go from a 17, and I'm going to find my size 16 tool and just go down one more size. So I'm going to go in with this. And there we go. So I'm leaving some of the original color around the edges. Okay. Because I still want to see that original color. I don't want it to completely disappear and bury it in the lighter shade. So now I'm going to go through all of those other ones and put this lighter shade on it. So we're going to start with this one. Just little bits. Still trying to leave some space around the edges so it's not taking up the whole one. It's going to be a very, very, very subtle difference. Even when it dries, you might look at it and go, can I even tell the difference really? And as long as you can slightly tell the difference, it is going to make an impact when you get all of the detail on there. Stringy and thick has been my issues, and going too fast. Yes, especially when the paint's stringy too, right? If you go too fast and it's stringy, then you're really going to get some issues for sure. That's okay, Cindy. It's good to see ya. I'm glad you're able to make it at all. All right, so I'm going to keep going with this size tool, and we're going to do the top dots on the next stroke. So I took the darkest color, and every color in this I did 2 rows. So that's why I'm doing 2 rows with this same color for top dots. All right. So I'm going to put the lid on that one, and I am going to grab my 3rd lightest gray and do the next rows. If you pre-mix your paints, make sure you give them a good stir. Not like me, I'm not giving them a good stir right now. I realize a lot of my tutorials are, hey, don't do what I do, because it's probably not the best way to do it. There we go. You could do this in the other direction too. You could go darker, right? This one I'm going to stir because it's got some goopiness in it, so. All right. So the next one here. Got a cat trying to climb in here and break in. I got Audrey. Got to keep track of her so she doesn't start a fight. It's stressful. So just slightly lighter. And this is just going to be the first layer of top dots that we're going to do. Daisy, screw off, babe. Not the time. I can't let her in here because her and Audrey will fight. And I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like dealing with a cat fight today. All right. I don't even know where Audrey is. Where is she? Oh, she's on the couch. All right, that's good. It has what in it? So will I do a 3rd top dot or white? Yes, I will do on the larger dots. I'll probably go in and do a 3rd or 4th top dot. And then my goal is to end up at white. So once I get out towards the edge where it's very close to white already anyway, I'll probably just do that. It's completely up to you. That's the beauty of it, right? You can pick and choose which ones you want to go with and which ones you want to add top dots to and which ones you want to just let it keep going and just keep it the way that it is. Right? So from the very center, I'll probably do 1 more layer of top dots all the way out. And then I don't know what I'll do on the lightest one because that's probably going to be too much. Anyone else hear there was a male body partner paint? What? What did I say? Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. That's not good. Oh, no. Right, so then we can just keep doing these top dots. Daisy, you're going to be the death of me. I don't want to pick a fight. I don't want to fight. I don't want to pull apart a fight. Oh my gosh, she jumped right in. So we have company now, you guys. We have company from Miss Daisy. So hopefully her and Audrey won't decide to start screaming at each other. And I'm so sorry, I don't know what you heard, Jan. Stir. Oh no, because there was some goop in it. Some goopiness in it. Some goopiness. Maybe that's what you said. No, it definitely doesn't have any penis in it. That I promise. That is a big promise. Big, big promise. No penises in my paint. Not that I'd remember what one looked like. Oh, did I say that? No, I didn't. Did I? Yeah, I did. All right, so now I'm going with white on the far outside. And the tool is too small. Sorry, there we go. So I'm going to go up another size. Hi, Daisy. There we go. Top dot, top dot. And this is where it can get tricky, because if you're going to do top dots, you might decide you want to wait and do the top dots at the beginning before you put the border on. That's an option as well, because this one is not behaving the way that I want it to. But that's okay, I'll fix it after. Yeah, this is not good. That one. That's okay, we'll fix it. It's crazy how it's so subtle, but it makes such a big difference. It really does make a difference. So let's go and do one more out here. And see how you still want to leave a ring of the color from before, right? You still want to make sure that you can see that other color before. Otherwise, if it gets buried in new layers of paint, then you're going to lose some of the dimension from your piece. Uh-oh, here comes Daisy. Daisy love, you can't be up here. Hi, Javita. So there we go. So that's with some top dots. Oh, I got to do the other side. This is how I know that I didn't do my full design, because I didn't do the 2 rows that are going to have the white top dots. And that's okay. Again, this is something for practice. This is to learn with. So I'm not super heartbroken over it, but this is when you start to notice, did you follow everything in your pattern? Did you keep going with what you wanted to accomplish with this, right? And I almost did. No, Daisy. No. Keep going. So this is what we have. So we'll do another tutorial then on these random dots and how to fill different spaces with them and what your different options are. Does anybody have questions of what we've covered so far though? Any questions on adding in the details or top dots or putting these borders on? Does overlapping mandalas make more sense now? Let me know. The random dot section is growing on me, right? It's when you get it with different colors, I'm starting to like it too. I used to only like the color grade ones. Let me grab my other little pencil holder and I'll show you what I did with a color grade on there, Paula, because that might be, because the gold I like almost better than the confetti, but the confetti is kind of cool in the background, right? So let me show you what I did with a different one. Hi, Audrey. Are you on guard, waiting for Daisy to come and jump over? Daisy? No. Daisy. Don't step in it. Okay, come here. Come here. Yes, come sit. Yep, come on. Sorry, everybody. Come on. Get your bum down. Right there. Atta girl. Wrap you up in the blanket, and you can just sit here with me. Sound good? Yeah, that's nice and cozy. Good girl. All right. All right. So let me show you this one. This one I did with different colors of green. Same technique as that confetti though. Right? Look at all those different colors. I think there's 4 or 5 different colors of green in there. So sometimes doing a different color of green can have a different effect. And it can almost make it blend in. So imagine doing something, and then having it all in different shades of blue. It would still look like a blue background, but it's got some dimension to it, right? Just like this is the green and it has some dementia. Right? Dimension, not dementia. This has some dimension to it. So doing the different colors, the different shades of all one color can be really cool too. Right? Typical cat behavior. Yeah, it's so funny because my cat Audrey couldn't care less. She doesn't want to get on here. If she does, it's like maybe once every couple of months, right? It just doesn't happen very often. And then Daisy's just, she's a little more needy. I like how you finished at the edge on that blue. Yes, so this is the other option that we can do in here now too. We can go in and fill in maybe some larger dots of a different color to create another border, right? There's lots and lots of options that you can do to go in and fill in those spaces. So will you fill in the black areas around the mandala like the last piece? I hadn't gone there yet actually in my mind, but I could, but here's the problem is I didn't pre-mix those colors and I don't have those colors mixed anymore. So for this piece, I will probably leave it. But I could go in and I could put a purple border around and I could mix them up a little bit, and that could be an option too, but I don't have the colors mixed for the same colors. Yeah, I totally get it. It stands out like crazy. Right? So I could go in or I might do like a larger gold dot and try to fill that in at some point to get in there. I'm new here. Will you mini dot the inner big rings? So right in here, yeah, I could totally do that. We could go in, we could take gold in these colors here and do the random fill-ins all around the mandala. That's a possible one too. Thanks, Jan. So that's my dilemma on this, is because I didn't pre-mix the paints and I didn't leave them sitting out so that I could keep them. I mixed them in a palette, a couple of them in a palette, not all in the paint pots. Then I don't have these colors mixed anymore. So yeah, I could totally go in and do that. So why don't we do that? We'll get the gold and we'll go and we'll micro dot in around those rings. Dizzy, are you still going to sit there? Yes? Okay, well, all right, great, awesome. You could use the white on the teal and the gold on the purple. Yeah, that would be beautiful too. Could totally do that. Really, really good idea. Here, let's spin this around and I'm gonna do some micro dotting on the inside of this one. Let's get in there nice and close. Use the original color since your center dot would just look cool on the outside too. Oh, that's a good idea too. I didn't put that one aside either though, but I can try and find something close. So why don't we do that? I'm going to micro dot and then we're going to look and try and find I'll try and find that original teal, or at least close to it, and see how that looks. So I'm going to micro dot on the pink though. Oh, I'm glad you like it, Barb. Was this where you were talking about microdotting? In the border? Yeah, you can mix it up any way you want to, right? That's the fun part. It doesn't have to be planned out. You can just decide on the go. Oh, Daisy. Go. Will you ever sell canvas painting? I want to really, really badly. I really, really want to get into doing some canvas work, and I really want to be able to not only sell the original canvases, but to get some good photography of them and be able to sell prints. I'd really, really like to do that. I've got a photographer lined up to take photos of a large round one. Jan's favorite, so that I can use some of those images to create some prints of it. So that's going to be my first foray into that. But I definitely want to be painting larger canvases and getting into some different stuff. So it's definitely on the list. I love doing large pieces. Love them, love them, love them, love them. They're so much fun. I've gotten to paint a couple of drums, a couple of guitars, and I have so much fun with those projects. So much fun with those projects. So let's take this teal. No, this one is one for sure. So let's grab this one. It's kind of a greeny one, but let's see how it looks. Yeah, isn't that tiny dot? The micro dotter is so freaking satisfying. I did a couple of pendants and I listed these on my website today. I was so proud of myself for all that I got accomplished this morning with listing stuff. But this was done with the micro dotter. Isn't that cool? And then that was the other one that I did. So fun. So fun. Micro dotter is one of my most favorite tools. It's so freaking fun to work with. Right? I totally do. I need to figure out how to move between different time and space dimensions so that I can create more time to do some of this stuff. I love it. I'm moving the art room again. Yay! Where are you moving it to, Barb? Yeah, I've got so many ideas, Noreen. It's not even funny. So let's give you a little quick tour here. I'll give you a tour of my workspace. So this is my space. There's Daisy. Hi, Daisy. Hi, Daisy. Daisy. Meow. What? Daisy has the cutest meow that when she meows, she sounds like she's saying meh, meh, meh. No? Okay. So this is my workspace anyway. I've got my arm that holds my phone. I've got my ring light, a couple other lights, a bunch of paints. In this box are multi-surface paints. Those are all multi-surface paints that I've been mixing and using on my mugs. But get a load of this. This is all canvases and things to paint on. All of this. This is a 4-foot table. And this is all stuff to paint. So much stuff to paint. And then we go over here into this cabinet, and this has more things to paint. Trays, canvases, coasters. And then we look up here and we've got mugs. Those are the ones that are ordered that I'm working on. Then we've got extra mugs over there. And then we've got planters over there. And then we've got all of those discs in there. One of those boxes is filled with wooden stuff. I've got a canvas that I've had the guidelines drawn on for a long time. The hoodie that I started. I've got a globe that I want to paint. I'll paint on pretty much anything. And I'm excited to just keep going and just creating as many different things as I can and just having so much fun with it. So there you go, a quick tour of the workspace. Back upstairs. Kid finally moved downstairs. Fantastic, Barb. I am waiting so I got some bad news today that the store that I got the white mugs from, they don't carry them anymore. So she's going to keep an eye out for me if there's other ones that look like they might be possible. But otherwise, at some point I may run out or slow down significantly on the amount of mugs that I have. So what I want to be able to do is start painting some of these other things too, right? Table leg lock is wonky. Was it? It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay, but it's straight. It is straight, but I'll take another double check. Yeah, I definitely need to do another giveaway. I'm hoping that I can give away some paints too with the product requests that I've put into Plaid, because I would love to give away some tools, some paints, and some surfaces to paint on. And I would love to just start creating some more things that I can just start you know, having some more regular giveaways, because I've got lots of pretty stuff around here that I think deserve a good home. Yeah, your mugs are there. I miss my cats. Their names were Crash and Suds. Rescued them from a drunk driving accident. Oh my gosh. Almost 20 years old. That's incredible, Paula. Well, that means that you were a good home for them then. They lived such long lives like that. That's wonderful. You were obviously a very good home for them. I think that's fantastic. All right, you guys. So I hope that this has helped. I'm not going to fill in the black right now. We can always do that on another day. But I think for now, this is where we're gonna call it quits for today. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I haven't looked at Restaurant Supply for mugs. I should totally do that. Because you do the pendant sometimes for a tutorial? Absolutely. I can absolutely do that. I'd like to do tiny stones and other things for tutorials too. And I really want to start making some more pendants too, for sure. Do you guys have any questions on what we covered today? Anything else at all that I can be answering for you about this kind of a project? Anything you guys can think of? Oh, you're welcome, Sharon. I hope you're doing good. I hope your coffin is doing okay. And thank you so much, everybody. Bookmarkers for starters. To paint bookmarks? I like seeing the options. Oh, good, Noreen. Oh, you're most welcome, you guys. I'm glad this was awesome. I'm glad that it was helpful. I missed 75% of the visual. Please start again. You can put me on a loop once I get the recording ready for you. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, then I am going to sign off. If you want to have access to the recording of this tutorial, you can do so by choosing to tip $5 or more on my website. The way that it's set up is it's set up as $1. So if you want the recording, you would have to purchase a quantity of 5 to bring it up to the $5. And then I will switch that over and you can get the recording there. And the other option is through the Patreon. The Patreon has all of my previous tutorials in there as well. So if you want to access them that way, you can. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any outstanding questions, please let me know. And otherwise, yeah, I'm going to be live on Instagram at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tonight, doing a joint live with my friend Molly Rocks. She is an incredible dot artist, so we're working on a couple of projects together. So, yeah, if you want to join us, it would be great to see you. Otherwise, my next live will be at 1 p.m. on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all I know about my schedule for next week so far. So I will post the remainder of my schedule tomorrow, probably tomorrow evening, so you know what times I'll be live and on where for the rest of the week. But you know where to find me. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Yeah, it does. It looks Shannon's looks amazing. So if you look at The Non on TikTok and check out her Etsy store, she's made some beautiful rock pendants. She's done an absolutely gorgeous job, and she's so freaking talented. So definitely check out The Non, and because her Etsy store just opened, so you would definitely want to check out her work. I didn't check to see what the name of her Etsy store is to tell you what to search there, but if you check out The Non, THENNON on TikTok, then you'll find the link to her shop there too. So any questions, you guys reach out to me. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for so long today. If you are able to join the live on Instagram tonight at 7 o'clock, it'll be great to see you. Oh, hey. This is how we know it's almost time to be done. The cats are gonna fight. So you guys, please take care of yourselves, and I will see you again in a couple of days or next weekend. Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.